Welcome to SmarterHash. This is the introductory video into SmarterHash that reviews the basics with you. First, we're going to start by signing in. Once you get signed in, you'll see our welcome screen, which has profitability, alerts, support, and then the ability to log out or update your profile. But I always recommend starting with profitability because that is what most of us care about most. So one thing you're going to notice when we land on the profitability page is the current price of Bitcoin and the current price of Litecoin. Without going into a ton of boring details, we display the price of Litecoin because some of the coins listed on the screen are primarily traded in Litecoin. So we show that number, and then we also perform a calculation and convert the Litecoin number into Bitcoin and then into dollars, because that's what most of us care about. And I may get an opportunity to point some of those coins out right now, but a good example would be Bunny Coin. Bunny Coin is primarily traded in Litecoin, and you'll see lots of extra zeros at the front. And we do this so that you don't have to convert from Litecoin into Bitcoin and then into dollars. But one of the first things you'll notice is that on the screen, once you land here, that the last three columns are going to be zeros. And they're zeros because you haven't entered anything into the hash rate field. Remember, SmarterHash is a coin mining recommendation engine, and we can only make a recommendation if we know how much hash rate you have in order to mine with. So for instance, I'm going to start simply, and I'm going to type in 100. Actually, I'm going to wait. I'm not going to do that yet. I'm going to go back here and I'm going to resort this column. And I'm going to use Verticoin as an example. So you'll see that some of the numbers are in red, some of the numbers are in green. For instance, on WorldCoin, the network hash is in green. For ExtractCoin, the network hash is shown in red. We constantly update these numbers. Network hash is updated literally once every 20 to 30 seconds. The other items like coin value are updated once every 5 minutes, and the information from the blockchain is updated once every 3 to 5 minutes. So our estimates and calculations are always very up to date. Moving across the columns, let's start at the first. If a ticker is hyperlinked, which means you can click on it, that indicates that we have a pool for this coin over on LifeForce Pools. So I just clicked on it. It brought me to the Verticoin mining pool. The second column is always clickable, and I'll come back to that because that's going to show you a chart. The third column, blocks per day, coins per block, and the averages. This is a really important number because very few coins are dead consistent in terms of cranking out blocks at the advertised rates. For instance, 42 coin will tell you that it sends out or generates a block every 42 seconds. Well, that's advertised, but that's not always true. In fact, it's hardly ever true. But Verticoin, first of all, over the past 24 hours has generated 1,147 blocks. And if you come back tomorrow, it's probably going to be about the same. Most of these coins are fairly consistent over a day-to-day basis. There are a few that are real anomalies. Bitmark is one of them. Bitmark will run for days without generating any blocks, and then all of a sudden, bang. Marine Coin is the same way. It will run for days with generating 3 or 4 blocks per hour, and then all of a sudden, in one day, it'll generate 1,500 blocks. It's crazy. But it's not only crazy, but it presents a great opportunity if you know how to play the game. So let's go back to Verticoin. It's generated 1,147 blocks over the past 24 hours. Its block reward in terms of coins is 6,952 coins per block. In the past 15 minutes, it's only averaged 672 blocks. So its run rate, or the speed at which new blocks have been introduced in the blockchain, has dropped, all right, from the daily average. Over the past 30 minutes, its average is 960. Over the past 1 hour, its average is 564, and over the past 3 hours, its average is 1112. Now you'll see some of these numbers are in green, some are red, some are not. All right. The 15-minute average really hasn't changed. The 30-minute average has gotten better, so that means it's increasing. It's increasing over the past 1 hour. Over the past 3 hours, it's actually decreased a little bit. I wouldn't be too concerned about that. When I go looking at coins, I look at the 15-minute average and I look at the 30-minute average. I like to see those in green. When I see those in green, I know that the block rates are increasing, and it's typically a good time to get in and start mining a coin. Of course, it's always a pleasant sight to see the network hash in green, which means the network hash is dropping. When network hash drops, that means there's less competition for the coin. But sometimes it gets a little bit more complex than that, because difficulty has a lot to do with some of these coins. But let's move across column even further. Your percentage of network hash. So for instance, if I went up to the top of the screen right now and I typed in 208, the number that would be calculated in this column is 50%. But you're saying, wait a minute, you just entered the same amount of hash as it's already on the coin. Well, guess what happens? When you type in, or you calculate, or you say to the system that I'm going to mine this coin and I'm going to throw 208 megahash at it, how much can I make? Well, actually the number has just jumped up from 208 to 209.73. But if you were to mine this coin with your 208 megahash, network hash would not be 208. It would be 209, which is listed here, plus your 208, and your percentage of network hash would only account for 49%, because you have to remember that when you start mining and you throw your hash in there, the network hash goes up. All right. So let's take another look here. Over the past 24 hours, this coin has produced $18.34 in coins. And we know that's accurate because we keep track of the numbers. Right. Now, assuming that doesn't change, let's say that network hash stays consistent. These people out here that are accounting for 209 megahash, nobody else joins in, and nobody else leaves. Our system is going to estimate that you're going to make $9.21 a day if you mine Verticoin. Well, that's probably not going to happen. And here's the reason why. Because the 24-hour average for Verticoin has been 511 megahash. So right now, there's kind of a lull. Network hash has actually gone down from the average, which is a good thing. And it may not be a bad time to jump in and mine this coin. All right. Now, the other thing that we'll tell you is that here is what your estimate will be if nothing changes. Because SmarterHash is an estimating tool. it's not a crystal ball. It cannot predict when this extra 300 hash that has been in the coin, the difference between 209 and 511, is going to jump back in. They may jump back in 5 minutes from now. They may jump back in an hour from now. They may never come back. We just don't know. But if I take a look at network hash by clicking on here and displaying the chart over the past 24 hours, I do like the trend line that I see. I see on average that the network hash is going down. So that gives me a little confidence in terms of saying, all right, if I start mining this, what are my chances that the network hash is going to jump way back up? Well, it's looking good. So let's take a look at what it's been like over the past 48 hours. Well, again, the trend line is going down. That means that there are some people out there that may have just lost interest in this coin. And if I click once more, we go out and we grab all the statistics for the last 7 days. And that's a lot of data, because we check at least every 5 minutes. On network hash, it's more on the order of every 30 or 40 seconds. But the 7-day trend line is actually upward. But I'm not going to worry about that too much, because if I go back and I take a look at the last 48 hours, I see that the trend line is going down. So I might seriously consider mining this coin. All right. Then again, I might not. But we're going to take a look at some more of the details before I take you further deeper into SmarterHash. So now you understand that your 49%, if you start mining this coin, that you're probably going to make $9.21. But let's say you come into SmarterHash and you say, well, guess what? For the past 24 hours, I have been mining Verticoin. So, guess what? Your number is already in this number. So let's say for the last 24 hours, you've been mining Verticoin, and you have 150 mega hash. So, let's do some calculations here. We're going to type in 150, and you'll see the coin ticker for Verticoin is VTA. I'm going to type in a slash and type in VTA. It doesn't matter if it's upper or lowercase. And then I'm going to click recalculate. What we have just told SmarterHash is that do your calculations, but this time I want you to not add my hashing rate to the reported hashing number because it's already in there. I'm already mining Verticoin. I have been for the last day. So you'll see that now if you had 150 mega hash on Verticoin out of the reported 213, you've actually got 70% of the network hash. And instead of that number, which was like $9, chances are you're probably going to make about $12.98 for the day. And guess what? Right now, you're pretty lucky, because over the last 15 minutes, the block count is much higher than normal. So Verticoin is releasing blocks at a faster rate than normal. So these are really good numbers. If you had been mining Verticoin with 150 mega hash over the past 24 hours, 0.0036 is almost double what the so-called profit switching multi-pools out there are doing on a daily basis. They're struggling just to make 0.0002. And over the last 15 minutes, or last hour, your number's way up. So you're doing pretty well. So let's go back to the basics, all right, as we move across, because it's really hard to just mention a number without giving you some of the details. All right. So for Verticoin, over the past 24 hours, the average has been 453, and it's in green. So as we did our calculation, and we calculated the number versus the past 24 hours since we constantly update this. The average has gone down slightly, which is why it's in green. All right. The 24-hour average. All right. So the Bitcoin income, 0.005. Right. I'll come back to these numbers a little bit later. Difficulty. Again, you'll see right now the difficulty and the 24-hour average. The difficulty right now is 7.31, but the average over the past 24 hours has been 11.02, which probably explains why the blocks are increasing right now, which is why we have a much higher block rate than normal, because the difficulty has dropped recently. This is a clickable column. If you click on it, it will show you what the difficulty is, and the difficulty has adjusted somewhat. So it's gone from 7.98 down to 6.14, back to 7.9, but it has gone down a little bit, right? The other thing is that the wrong chart. Let's go back to Verticoin. That my network hash has actually gone down. So it's a good time to mine. When network hash is down and blocks are going up, it's a great time to mine. And we know that. And we represent that with a little thumbs up. Now, let's move up just for a second before we move to some of the other columns and take a look at this thumbs down on WorldCoin. WorldCoin is very interesting. WorldCoin is a coin that is constantly abused by either some whale with lots of hash or a multi-pool out there that throws a huge chunk of hash at it. If we take a look at the 24-hour average hash for WorldCoin, you'll see that it's 11,554 megahash, and the current hash rate is 7221. It's down. All right. So is its blocks per day. Its average is 2730. But right now, over the past 15 minutes, its run rate is only 1920. Over the past 30 minutes, it's only 1824. Actually, the 1 hour average was 828, but it's going up a little bit, which is a good sign. So I'm going to click on network hash for WorldCoin and show you something interesting. If you come back here and click 3 days from now, you're going to see the same trend. WorldCoin network hash goes way up, then it goes way down. It goes way up and way down. I can click on 48 hours or 7 days, you're going to see the same trend. Somebody out there jumps on WorldCoin from time to time, and they throw a lot of hash at it, and the blocks go up, and they make some money, and then they leave. But unfortunately, every time they leave it looking like this, with a high difficulty. WorldCoin, when the difficulty drops, you'll see on the composite chart that I'm going to show you in a minute that as soon as this difficulty drops, everybody jumps in, and the network hash rate rises, the blocks per day average rise, and then difficulty goes up, and the coin shuts down and starts producing less blocks, and everyone leaves. Remember, I told you that the second column was clickable. So the second column displays a composite chart that has 3 items on it: network hash, difficulty, and blocks per day. I'm not sure if the cart comes before the horse here. So I don't know if, to be honest, if network hash drives blocks per day, or if blocks per day start increasing and then somebody out there who is monitoring the coin sees the increase and jumps on it. But it's pretty simple. You'll see that network hash goes way up, and shortly after network hash goes way up, difficulty follows suit. Here, network hash jumps up, difficulty follows suit. network hash drops down, difficulty goes back down. This is a constant, repeated pattern that I see over and over again with WorldCoin, because you can see that we're running along at an average of 2,400, 1920, 1632 blocks per day. Difficulty goes down. As soon as difficulty goes down, the blocks start to increase. I mean, not a little bit, dramatically, from 2016 blocks up to an average of 5,800, almost 3 times. And then they drop down again, and then they go back up. So, if you're an astute miner, and you set up the alerts properly, and you can jump back and forth between WorldCoin, you can get in WorldCoin when difficulty is low, and you can get out when it's high. Now, it makes it pretty easy to do, because you can set up alerts, which I'll show you in another video. But you can see here that WorldCoin difficulty was high at 6:35 p.m. and then at 7:20 it was high again. 8:55 up to 9:40. For literally 50 minutes, WorldCoin difficulty is quite low, and the number of blocks are increasing dramatically. So if you can jump in and jump back out, you can make your money in short periods of time on WorldCoin, instead of just sitting there mining it 24 hours a day. You can jump in and out of WorldCoin and jump over onto other coins in the meantime. But I won't sit here and spend too much time on it, just to point that out, because I'm going to talk about some of the alerts and the ability to generate alerts in a different video. But moving across the screen, you see we have difficulty here. Then we have coin value. 95% of our coins are linked and get their values from a site called Cryptonator, which lists nearly every major coin that's available. So WorldCoin is listed on lots of different exchanges. Its current value is 2004, and they say it's rising. And these are all the different exchanges where you could find WorldCoin if you want to sell it. But there's basically 2 major ones to account for most of the volume: Sex.io and Cryptsy. So let's just close that and go back. So let's go back to Verticoin. All right. So we see its numbers here in terms of difficulty. We see its value. Cruising along to the right, we see that Verticoin over the past 24 hours has generated $18.32 in a day. And if you had 70% of the network hash, you would get 70% of $18.32, which is $12.98. All right. Now, remember, I told you that you thought, well, for 150 mega hash, Verticoin might be a pretty good coin to mine. Not bad, all right? But let's just click on our income column here. And interestingly enough, you made the right choice. If you had been mining Verticoin for the past 24 hours, your income would have been $12.98. If you had been mining Netcoin, you would have received $10.39. Now, the little indicator here shows whether the column has been sorted ascending or descending. All right. Let's just take a quick departure here, since I see a thumbs down on Netcoin. It appears as though Netcoin is recovering, and it's recovering for some reason, but its block counts are way down. Typically, it's generating 504 blocks a day on average, but in the past 15 minutes it's down to 384. The past 30 minutes it's 412. The past 1 hour 204, so its block counts are way down from what it would normally do. All right, and typically there's a reason for that. Sometimes the reasons are apparent, sometimes they're more subtle. But I'm going to click on the first column and show the composite chart for Netcoin. The composite chart shows me 3 items: network hash, difficulty, which gets highlighted when I mouse over it, and blocks per day. But I can see that for some reason difficulty jumped way up here. So the coin is recovering. I had a little spike in hash rate, but I guess it was just enough to trigger its mechanism, its self-defense mechanism, to slow down the blockchain. So keep these things in mind. Sometimes when you see a thumbs down, it's a good time to avoid, but sometimes it can be an indicator that the coin is ready to jump back in the world of generating blocks. And again, WorldCoin is the perfect example. So I'm just going to click so I bring WorldCoin back up to the top, and I'm going to look at my difficulty chart here. And I see that these times have been fairly similar. They're increasing somewhat. All right, the gap, or this little plateau, has been fairly consistent, maybe a little bit wider, but there's probably a good chance that WorldCoin is going to drop its difficulty pretty soon. If I take a look at the gap between here and here, 8:55 and 10:35, that's about an hour and 40 minutes, and it's 11:05 right now, and the last record was 12:25, hour and 20 minutes. I would say if we checked back here pretty soon and just did an update to get the latest stats, took a look at WorldCoin again, that we're getting pretty close to the difficulty dropping down. Now just remember, once you throw your hash at a coin, it doesn't take effect immediately. It normally takes 5 or 10 minutes for your hash to get ramped up inside of that wallet and start grabbing some blocks. All right. And the other thing you have to take into consideration is if you have a really small amount of hash, WorldCoin is 6,500 mega hash right now, and my 150 only accounts for 2.24%. Chances are you need to get into a pool that has at least 10 or 15% or more if you're going to take advantage of these jumps. All right. It just makes the opportunity better for you. So last column, I think we already reviewed this, is the Bitcoin per mega hash per day. Like I said, WorldCoin is a really constant producer. It does pretty well. All right. So you're going to find that WorldCoin is typically going to outperform any profit switching pool consistently on a daily basis. And it always has a big buy wall. And people say, what's a buy wall? Well, a buy wall is the display of number of people that are looking to buy this coin. When you visit a site like Cryptsy or Bittrex and you pull up WorldCoin, you're going to see how many buy offers there are out there. And some coins we tell you, for instance, Smiley Coin, there's very little buy wall at all. Even though coin only generates $1.93 a day, you may want to stay away from mining that unless you have some insight. There are some other indicators we'll tell you about. NovaCoin. If you mine NovaCoin, it's going to take you 6 days to get your coins confirmed. That's just the way NovaCoin works. All right. And as bad as it may seem, there are some other coins that are actually worse. All right. Here's a little tip. Earthcoin. On 2/19, it's going to 5x. Earthcoin has some unique features to it. Once in a while, it pays out double. Once in a while, it pays out 5x. So we keep track of that stuff for you. Bitmark. Here's the killer coin. Bitmark takes 5 months to get your coins confirmed because they introduce so few blocks into the blockchain, number one. And number two, they have, I think, 720 confirms before your coins are actually confirmed. So on average, if you mine Bitcoin or Bitmark, you're not going to see your coins show up in your wallet, or at least get confirmed, for 4 to 5 months. So you may want to stay away from Bitmark, but it does pop from time to time, and if you're mining for the long term, it might not be a bad investment of your time. So I won't belabor the point. That's a basic introduction. I'm going to come back and go over some nuances of some of these coins in other videos, and talk about alerts, and talk about things you want to watch out for, and try to make you a better and more profitable miner by keeping you from A, making mistakes, and B, pointing you in the right direction and how to make the right choices when it comes to mining coins. But thanks for your time. This concludes our first introductory video. I hope it's been helpful and insightful. Signing off.